DJ Khaled, we the best. Who we know.
Welcome back to Decoding Holistics. Here's a statement for you. Feel free to ask me any questions anytime. Do you think that means you can ask questions anytime? No. It means you can ask the appropriate amount of questions, which are probably no questions, but maybe a couple. The person saying this wants to seem like they're helpful, but they don't have time for questions anytime. And they might think it's common sense that you don't ask them questions anytime, even though they said anytime. Because an autistic person would probably never say any time because they take it literally. And you're thinking, hey, this person is really nice, I can ask them questions anytime. But they mean it generally. Generally, you can ask them questions anytime, but not really, because it's just a polite thing to say. And if you ask them questions anytime, they're gonna get fucking annoyed at you.
I think Gen Zs are obsessed with millennials because we have the trauma they wish they had. You know?
Everybody has already responded to that video with some sort of deep lens, so I'm going to say something different instead. I don't think Gen Z is obsessed with millennials. In fact, I think millennials are much more obsessed with Gen Z. I only see Gen Z talk about millennials when they're talking about tangible problems that millennials have caused or are pointing out cringe, lighthearted humor. Much like I don't think millennials are obsessed with boomers, but boomers are much more obsessed with millennials. I only see millennials talking about boomers when they're pointing to tangible problems that boomers have caused, i.e., most of them. It's just funny to hear takes surrounding the generational beef as if it's two girls in a locker room fighting over whose boobs are bigger. The issue that each generation has with one another going upward is often easily traced back to a legitimate root cause, whereas the issues that each generation has with one another going downward seems to be more often than not a projection of bitterness and jealousy with only legitimate causes sprinkled in.
These are the racist red flags of the hueless humans. Part 1. All right. Flags. This flag, and this flag equals this flag. Okay? No matter what, no matter where you're at, that's what it means. Stay vigilant. All right. Bootcut jeans with a flip-flop combo, danger. Put on the Oakleys, emergency, state of emergency. While we staying on fashion, blazer, glasses combo, or thin lip, no facial hair combo, red flag, white supremacy is imminent. It has breached the premises. Saying Eminem is the greatest rapper of all time? That's gotta be racist. Yeah, we don't do that. Y'all been looking for a great white hope since Jack Johnson was beating y'all ass up in the 20s and stroking y'all broads. This hairstyle, or this hairstyle. Danger is present. Alert, alert, alert. Stay away from them. Anybody that says, oh, I have a dog, so I understand what it's like to have a child. Danger. Danger. The Black Plague is coming. That's very European. This is what the rat's counting on.
I'm gonna be honest with you, dude. Some of your conservative talking points sound eerily similar to fascist talking points. You liberals always trying to call us Nazis. You know what? Fine. I am a Nazi then. I'm a Nazi. Are you happy? No. No, I'm not happy. You did this to yourselves, right? You made us say pronouns. Therefore, the Jewish question must be raised. How? Listen, I used to be a liberal like you, okay? But then I saw SJWs being cringe, so now I'm concerned about race and differences in intelligence. What the fuck? You said Black Lives Matter, therefore I have 100 guns and I'm preparing for a civil war. Why? They're having drag queen story hour. So it only follows logically then that the deep state is draining children's blood for adrenochrome. We're not Nazis. It's just that the Jews...
I'm a working man. I'm wearing a hoodie. No working man actually wears a hoodie.
When anybody preaches disunity, tries to pit one of us against the other, through class warfare, race hatred, or religious intolerance, you know that person seeks to rob us of our freedom and destroy our very lives. And we know what to do about it.
Or, hear me out, you go fuck yourself, and I keep doing what I'm
Aside from the obvious fetishization of fair-skinned, thin Korean women, this video is a great example of why racial preferences are inherently racist. And I know this confuses a lot of people, so stick with me. But if you say you prefer Asian people, ask yourself why. And if the answer is that they just embody certain traits that you find physically attractive, then that is racist. Because under the umbrella term of Asian, while there may be people who fit your personal standard of what you find attractive, there are millions that look the exact opposite. So for you to reduce a group of millions of people into those arbitrary traits that you personally find attractive is fetishization. And this is because race is just a social construct that is based in very arbitrary traits. And even throughout history, the people in power have changed what ethnicities and nationalities they see as certain races just whenever it benefits them. If you want to marginalize a certain group of people, race is a great way to do it.
It wasn't Kanye West that put the White Lives Matter t-shirt on first. You did. You did by intentionally ignoring what Black Lives Matter would actually mean if it was applied.
And it's people like this that are exactly the reason why I say what I say in the way that I say it. I'm about to ether your shit. Now rewind. Let's run this shit back point by point.
It wasn't Kanye West that put the White Lives Matter t-shirt on first. You did. You did by intentionally ignoring what Black Lives Matter would actually mean if it was applied.
The simultaneous gall and irony of somebody who's on a network that is literally funded by fossil fuel billionaires to push a conservative worldview telling us that we deliberately ignore what BLM would mean is fucking crazy to me. 2, the simultaneous gall and irony of you telling the black community, look what you made me do, when both you and Kanye West are incredibly wealthy and could be educated on these topics if you gave a fuck, is crazy to me. 3, the fact that you don't fucking realize that you saying black people are ignoring the issues in the community, thus you had to put on the White Lives Matter shirt, is implicitly suggesting that White Lives Matter is antithetical to Black Lives Matter, is fucking crazy to me. Meaning the whole shit about ALM and, oh, don't forget about white people because we go through shit too, was literally just all bullshit according to your logic. Don't you have some media training? How did y'all watch that footage back and not realize that you just contradicted the fuck out of yourself? And 4, we'll get to the discussion about what Black Lives Matter would actually mean in a minute after I let you get up real quick.
It would mean taking a look at the real problem that is happening, which is our culture, a celebration of perversity pitched to us as if it's diversity. It's not. It is not diversity that we are celebrating. It is perversity.
You said the same thing twice, and both times it meant less than nothing. 1, where does culture come from, Candace? Tell me where. If you're trying to make the argument that black people are just genetically predisposed to have a bad culture, please do, and you'll get blown the fuck out of the water. But if I'm gonna be charitable to you and assume you're not making that argument, you have to acknowledge that culture comes from environment. And I wonder if there's a connection between the environment in which black people in America were placed in and the outcomes in their culture and socioeconomic status. See, the difference with me is I don't just say shit, I back it up. Here's a study on racism and the effects of the mental health of black people, reviewing the evidence that points to a myriad of ways that racism can have a negative impact on black people. Oh, but it gets worse for you. Let's run back what you just showed in your video.
It would mean taking a look at the real problem that is happening, which is our culture.
Please tell me how the fuck a BLM protest is the real problem happening in the black community. And then you showed Cardi B as if to say that hip-hop and the culture around that is the actual problem in the black community. And now I'm about to show you fundamentally why that's fucking stupid. This goes for anyone out there who believes this too. Here's a study on gang violence in LA, significantly linking proportion of employment and per capita income to gang-related activity. Or we can look at socioeconomic status as a fundamental cause of street criminality. And the studies can keep coming because this is not up for fucking debate. The very basis of some of these rap songs that you guys love to talk about are coming from the environment in which black people were placed in and their socioeconomic status. Rap in itself did not stem from the happy-go-lucky circumstances of black people in America. So telling rappers to shut up about their experiences still does not fix the fucking system. And before you say black fatherless, carelessness, take a gander at where they're going. Blaming an outcome for the wrong of a system is as stupid as blaming dishes for not being washed properly and not the dishwasher. And this deliberately shitty line of argumentation you love to engage in stems from the tendency of racist people to view black people as more violent and their culture as problematic. So let me make something abundantly clear. You do not care about these issues. If you did, I'm looking forward to your peer-reviewed response to the evidence. If not, keep tap dancing.
Lucifer. Have you ever thought about the fact that a fear of gaining weight is not actually a fear of not being healthy or not looking good? It's a fear of losing, say it with me, privilege. And nobody likes that. Food for thought.
Did you know black women once used their hair to draw escape maps in Colombia? In the 1800s, enslaved African women forcibly taken to Colombia would communicate with their communities through braided hair, most importantly for planning escapes. For example, a braided hairstyle called departes, meaning depart in English, would signal that the person wanted to escape. Black women would also record with their braids the obstacles they would encounter on their journeys to help others escape. A river was represented with a braid in the shape of a worm. A bantu knot represented a mountain. And if there were soldiers in any part of the route, they would use really thick braids still known today in the Pacific region of Colombia as tropas, which means troops in English. On top of that, inside the braids, sometimes gold or seeds were hidden to ensure they would survive after they escaped. Because of these escape maps of braids, many Africans were able to escape and form the famous free settlements known as palenques. Some of you may have heard of San Basilio de Palenque, which is one of the first free black towns in the Americas. It's also one of the only remaining palenques in Colombia. It can still be visited if you're in the Cartagena region. Today, this rich history of braids is celebrated every year on May 21st at the Afro hairdressing competitions in Cali, Colombia. May 21st is Afro-Colombian Day, but it also marks the abolition of slavery in Colombia in 1851.
Speak up when I hop about to cut, I promise I'm gonna speak up when I hop about to cut, I promise I'm gonna speak up when I hop about to cut, I promise I'm
Unspoken rules of plus-size modeling. No fat on your face. Flat toned tummies only. Must have hourglass body shape. Post workouts pictures to justify your health.
You bought some drugs? Don't worry, we're not cops. We just don't want you to die. Here's how to use a fentanyl test strip so you don't die. Here's what you're gonna need. Water, your substance, fentanyl test strip, and something you can stir with. Step 1, you're gonna fill a container with some water. For this, you can use a cup or a cap of a water bottle. Fill your container with about 15 milliliters of water, which is about a tablespoon. Or you can even use the bag that the test strips come in. Next, pour in some of your substance. If you are testing MDMA or meth, you should test about 10 milligrams, but all other drugs require about 50 milligrams to be tested. And then mix it until it's fully dissolved. And if you have pills, you're gonna wanna test every individual pill. Crush the pill, and then shake it so it's thoroughly mixed. Now's the fun part. Open up your package and take out your test strip. The side with the little blue triangles is the side you're going to put into the water. Dip the strip into the water for at least 10 seconds. Take it out of the water and wait about 60 seconds. Now you got your results. 2 lines means no fentanyl, but 1 line, that means your substance most likely has fentanyl in it. False negatives absolutely can happen, which is why it's super important to always carry Narcan close by. Stay safe out there.
So if I do not find somebody soon, I'll blow up into smithereens and spew my tiny symphony all up and down a city street while trying to put my mind at ease. Like finishing this melody, this feels like a necessity. So this could be the death of me, or maybe just a better me. Now come in with the Tiffany's and take a shot of Hennessy. I know I'm not there mentally, but you could be the remedy. So let me play my violin. White people have culture.
We're all technically white. If you're from England, if you're from Australia, if you're from wherever, South Africa, you know, we all have these crazy places we come from and these people are around and we get those ideas from those people. But that doesn't mean us as a whole have no culture.
But as a white person, it's not really a culture. You can have culture, like I'm hella Irish, obviously, and that's a culture. But just being white is not it's not a culture. I can't relate to you just because you're white.
I think you could say that for any ethnicity though. If we were all black, could I relate to you guys if just because of the color of our skin?
Yes, because they go through very similar experiences, like they'll get discriminated against, and you're not getting discriminated against because of your skin color. They can both relate to that.
First thing you need to know is if a man tells you that he likes natural women, that's a dog whistle.
You know, during World War II, red lipstick sales shot through the roof because there was a rumor going around that Hitler could not stand women who wore red lipstick. And very recently, leftists and Antifa femme-presenting individuals, they've started reclaiming red lipstick as a signal to one another. Don't know if the conservatives have caught on yet or if they just think we're all Taylor Swift fans, but now you know.
So we've been talking about the adultification of black girls, right? And in one of my videos, I had mentioned that black women and girls had been, for lack of a better term, breeded to reproduce more slaves. Because the transatlantic slave trade was coming to an end. They could no longer import slaves, right? And I read quite a few comments from people who did not know that that was happening, that black women were forced to reproduce, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to read an excerpt from Angela Davis's book, Women, Race, and Class, that more succinctly explains what happened during that time. When the abolition of the international slave trade began to threaten the expansion of the young cotton industry, the slaveholding class was forced to rely on natural reproduction as the surest method of replenishing and increasing the domestic slave population. Thus, a premium was placed on the slave woman's reproductive capacity. During the decades preceding the Civil War, black women came to be increasingly appraised for their fertility, or lack of it. She who was potentially the mother of 10, 12, 14, or more became coveted treasure indeed. In fact, in the eyes of the slaveholders, slave women were not mothers at all. They were simply instruments guaranteeing the growth of the slave labor force. They were breeders, animals, whose monetary value could be precisely calculated in terms of their ability to multiply their numbers. Now, just as we read, they needed to replenish their slaves, and the only way to do that was to make more. So slave owners forced the reproduction of enslaved women and girls, and it included coerced sexual relations between enslaved men and enslaved women and girls. It included forced pregnancies of enslaved women. White men essaying enslaved women and girls, something they were already doing. And it included favoring enslaved women and young girls who could produce a relatively large number of children. I'm going to read you the story of Miss Rose Williams. She was a child when her so-called master started to force men on her. She told her story in 1937 to an interviewer for the Federal Writers Project. And according to Miss Rose Williams, the first time she was attacked, she complained to her mistress. And when her master heard that she was complaining about her treatment, he said, "I paid good money for you. And I did that because I want you to raise me children. Now, if you don't want a whipping at the stake, you'll do what I want." Now, like many enslaved men and women, Miss Williams had no recourse. She had no one to turn to. She said, "I think about being whipped at the stake. What am I going to do? So I decide to do as the master wish, and I yield." Now, Miss Rose's story is not the only story, and Miss Rose is not the only formerly enslaved black woman to be in that position, to be forced into that position. There are thousands and thousands and thousands of formerly enslaved black women who were forced into those situations. And these are things that are never taught in history.
If you are a feminist, forget that. If you're a human being, you should care about this issue. This is a human rights issue. Throughout history, nothing has changed until we have decided to stand together. The question is, how much tragedy needs to happen before we decide to come together? Bad people get away with doing bad things when no one is watching. People are not their government. We have more power than we did a decade ago. We didn't have media to spread information the way that we can. We've talked about the Me Too movement, the Black Lives Matter movement. You have the unique position right now to talk about this, to spread awareness so that they know that the world is watching. We are watching. Don't let these deaths be in vain. It could have been your mother, your sister, your family member. Children are dying. Women are dying. Men who are standing up for their people are dying. Even if you're like, oh, what can I do? Well, if I cut my hair, it's going to be seen as clout. If I talk about that, it's not my issue. No, you're a human being. This is an us issue. No one is safe until we are all safe. Don't tag the videos with the hashtags because TikTok is taking it down. A lot of us, including me, are at risk of losing our accounts. Keep talking about it. Keep sharing about this. I believe in us. If you feel like everything you do amounts to nothing more than a drop in the ocean, what is an ocean but a multitude of drops? We have been numbed by the news. We have been othered. We have been taught to grow up and be like, well, it's not our issue. Stop letting corrupt government divide us. That's what they want to happen. Where you ended up being born is completely by luck, by complete chance. It doesn't change that at the end of the day, we're all just human beings.
You think it's more appropriate for a 17-year-old to wear a crop top and booty shorts than a 40-year-old woman?
I still have and wear my cheer uniforms from when I was in high school, which I only wore from the ages of like 15 to 16. And when I wore them, there was very rarely comments made about how short they were because it was sanctioned by the school. The school literally sent people to custom fit that all of the uniforms to be for our bodies. So nobody said anything. But now I still wear them because they still fit me and they were expensive as fuck. So obviously I'm going to keep wearing them. And I usually wear like one of the skirts with like a t-shirt or something. And without fail, people will always comment on how short they are and tell me that it's like inappropriate for me to be wearing them. And I'm always saying, why was it less weird for me to wear this exact outfit when I was 15 and 16? Or something tighter than this when I was 15 and 16. But now that I'm a whole grown ass human, it's suddenly inappropriate. Like, make it make sense.
Speak up when I hop about to cut. I promise I'm gonna make.
I hate that our society focuses so much on attraction. The fact that these women are soldiers fighting against Palestinians, making videos like this, they get 60 over 600,000 followers. I feel so frustrated sometimes because I don't want to care about likes and views and things like that. But I feel like my platform isn't growing fast and I don't get as much of the attention because I'm not conventionally attractive, because I'm not white and have long black hair or long blonde hair and blue eyes. And I hate that even if you're a terrible person, you can still get views and likes just based on being attractive. And that's what I'm frustrated about the Jeffrey Dahmer situation. The show focuses on just him being attractive and like some serial killer. Why do we care so much about looks? Even when someone is a downright murderer, she's a part of the system that oppresses Palestinians, yet people like her because she's hot.